headed for the edge of the earth.
Left home behind with a sliver of hope. Searching for the truth.
Promise me. Just come back.
Promise.
Hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for In the Heart of the Sea. This is a film from 2015 directed by Ron Howard, rated PG-13 with a runtime of 2 hours and 2 minutes. As of the recording of this video, we have a Rotten Tomato score of 42% from the critics, 54% from the audience, and a Letterboxd average rating of 3.0. This is currently streaming on Netflix, and it is actually the number one movie on Netflix as of the recording of this video. I think that Netflix just recently added this to their library, and this is causing a lot of people to watch it because I don't think this film, based on the critical reviews, was popular when it originally came out in 2015. Now we are almost 10 years removed. This film stars Chris Hemsworth as Owen Chase, Benjamin Walker as George Pollan, Cillian Murphy as Matthew Joy, Brendan Gleeson as Tom Nickerson, Tom Holland as a younger Thomas Nickerson, and Michelle Ferry from Game of Thrones as Mrs. Nickerson. And it revolves around in the 1820s, crewmen aboard the New England vessel Essex face a harrowing battle for survival when a whale mammoth size and strength attacks with force, crippling the ship and leaving them adrift in the ocean. Pushed to their limits and facing storms, starvation, panic, and despair, the survivors must resort to the unthinkable to stay alive. Their incredible tale ultimately inspired author Herman Melville to write the novel Moby Dick. So yeah, I went on to Netflix and I was looking for something to watch. I saw that this had recently been added, and then I saw the cast and I was like, oh, that's interesting. You know, Chris Hemsworth. We have a young Tom Holland. Now, obviously, by this time, Chris Hemsworth is already an Avenger, but we don't. Tim Holland is not really Spider-Man yet, right? Which is the weirdest way to kind of start this review. But that was the reason I watched it. I wanted to see these two performers, as well as many other, like Brendan Gleeson, Cillian Murphy. Like, these are all people that I follow and I think are great. Also, overall, I like Ron Howard films. I think he is he's a very efficient filmmaker. I think he makes movies for the masses, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I really think that Ron Howard has a very specific style. This movie tries a few things that I feel maybe a little bit outside of the realm of either the technology at the time, of maybe something that his expertise. It's a little too long. It's a little bit. It lacks a little bit of that adventure spirit. I think that you would want to see in a film that would inspire it eventually Moby Dick. Now, I'm not too familiar with the novel outside of whatever you may know from contemporary pop culture, but I do want to say, like, I think it's really interesting to follow this crew of people that are really interesting to see the whaling industry. First of all, back in the 1800s, the film does address why it was so why the whaling industry was so prolific, right? Especially because that was the main source of like oil, and for a long time that was the main source of some kind of oil, and of course a lot of the whale was used in different times, and then of course because at this time the colonies we have all those, although I guess by this time it was the United States, all those towns and those people, they really depend on that industry to really support the larger infrastructure of their society. So I think that was an interesting exploration, although we don't spend a lot of time with that. We really follow this brash just character of Owen Chase, portrayed by Chris Hemsworth, which is really funny. I do want to I do have a letterbox review that I pulled. This is from Eric Eats Movies from this year actually. They probably watched it at the same time, almost the same time as I did. It is a 4-star review, and I wanted to pull this aside because I thought it was a really funny, and of course interesting review. So, trying to figure out why this was so hated when it came out. Maybe it was when Chris Hemsworth turned to the camera and said, "This depiction of a whale hunting is an endorsement of the practice. There she blows." Anyways, boat movies rock. I do like boat movies, and I was also trying to figure out why this was so hated. I don't think it's a bad film. I don't think it's a very good film either. It is really just kind of in the middle. My biggest gripe with it was the CGI because you spend a lot of time in the ocean, in the sea, and but you could tell that a lot of this was not filmed obviously in the ocean, in the middle of the ocean. So there's a little bit of CGI, especially with when it comes to the whale scenes, that it doesn't truly hold up, and that's not something I normally notice, but in this case, it did kind of stand out to me because that is the main, like it's the main focus of the film, right? The whales, the sea, the ocean. We're in the heart of it. Um, I think the performances overall are great, although it's a little bit distracting to hear Chris Hemsworth in his normal Australian accent, being somebody that lives in in the New England area. I believe they're I don't even know, Rhode Island maybe. Um, so that was very interesting. But uh, when the whale attacks do happen and there's this big storm, like there is some big spectacle here. I think there's definitely something for you to grab onto, and I think people were not expecting how much of a slow burn this would have with spending time with the crew as they are stranded in the middle of the ocean, and they're just trying to survive. There's also a framing device of the author Herman Melville talking to one of the survivors of this incident, and they having them retell or recount this last trip of the Essex. Um, they try to give you these little morsels of Chris Hemsworth being a family man who just wants to be able to provide. Thomas Nickerson, Tom Holland's character, being this greenhorn that is just starting his own life at sea, and he looks so young. Like Tom Holland looks very young. Normally he just looks he has a young look, but man, 10 years ago, even more. I think Killian Murphy's character doesn't do a lot, unfortunately, and his talent's a little bit wasted. And then I don't know much about Benjamin Walker. Like I don't, the actor doesn't stand out to me, but he's definitely no match for how grand of a character Chris Hemsworth portraying on the screen. So that's a little bit uneven because they are supposed to be kind of foils, right? Owen Chase is the first mate who was promised to be a captain, and George Pollard, Benjamin Walker's character, is the captain that was just given the title without maybe having earned it. So the film, like I said, Ron Howard is not very subtle when it comes to these things, from what I've seen in his movies. But overall, I was entertained for all most of the 2 hours. It's definitely something that I can see why it's popular on Netflix because you can definitely just throw this on and kind of vibe with it, and then maybe you're doing laundry and you're doing something else. But then when the big action sequences are happening, whether it's a storm or the whale attacks or whatever the case may be, and then it's also a story about survival and the things that you may have to do. I think the makeup was actually really cool. It looked very good when you have these people that have been stranded in the ocean for months, and so they're emaciated and they're sunburnt and like. But yeah, overall, entertaining film. I understand why it's number one on Netflix, but I wanted to talk about it. Yeah, I would give this around a 3 stars. You can find my final rating in my letterbox. Follow me on letterbox, and I'll be doing more reviews of some other films. I stumbled upon quite a few things on Netflix over the past few days, so as I work through some of those things, make some videos, you can catch them here. So if you watch In the Heart of the Sea, because it was number one on Netflix or because Netflix kept pushing it. Let me know down in the comments. Let me know what else you're watching on Netflix. I'm looking for a lot of movies, whether it's new stuff for me to explore or movies to rewatch and maybe talk about on the channel. So as always, thank you for watching, everyone. Remember to share, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we go live. That is most Saturdays, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Stay tuned. We have more comic reviews, trailer reactions, TV recaps, all that fun stuff here in the channel. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye bye.